That's what Charles was saying. I was wondering how she was doing. She's not a independent woman.
Good evening, everybody. We'll call the Tuesday, August 10th meeting in Schertz City Council to order. Next order of business on the agenda is Councilman Scagliola will provide the opening prayer, followed by the pledges of allegiance to the flags of the United States and the state of Texas.
Mayor Pro Tem, if you please. Yeah, I'd like to make mention of a vacancy in the chambers this evening, created by the passing of Mr. Ken Greenwald. Now, to say Ken was a good man would be an understatement. There are very few constants in the world, but with rare exception, Ken could be counted on to occupy a seat in the back row, monitoring the ebb and flow of our meetings, and when appropriate, he provided his insights and honest assessment as a subject matter expert. You see, Ken's dedication to our city and community was inspirational. To name a few accomplishments, he served as a Schertz council member for over 20 years, was mayor pro tem for 9 terms. Was instrumental in the establishment of Schertz Local Government Corporation and served on the board. Was an elected official of the Civil Oak Creek Municipal Authority, served on our Planning and Zoning Commission, and just for fun, drove our 1956 fire truck to many parades, and contributed to getting our old truck refurbished. Bottom line, Ken was a model citizen and faithful servant of the people. And although he will be missed, his dedication and distinctive character have made a lasting impression on so many of us. And I believe I am a better person for having known Ken. Let us pray. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, we ask for your blessing on those who gather in your name. And Lord, we ask for your continued blessing on those who have and will dedicate themselves as servants of and for the people of our community, inspired by your grace and teachings, as we endeavor to become an inspiration to others as another shining city on the hill. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right, and before we continue, I'd like to take a moment of privilege. Over the last couple of weeks, we've also lost a couple of additional men who served our community well. Ken died over the weekend, but over the last 2 weeks, we've also had former council member Carl Douglas and former city manager Don Taylor pass away. All 3 of these men have worked and served to help build this community during a period of tremendous growth and development. They worked to improve this city for everyone, and they gave countless hours of service to do so. Schertz would not be what it is today without their contributions. And so to Ken, Carl, and Don, on behalf of our grateful community, thank you for your many years of dedication and service to the city, and to the families of Ken Greenwald, Carl Douglas, and Don Taylor. And thank you from staff, council, and the residents of Schertz. And please accept our sincere condolences on your loss. All right, next item on our agenda is proclamation and presentation for a landmark property designation. The Historical Commission has a brief presentation to make, and then we'll come down and make the presentation.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Howard Alprin. I'm one of the members of the Schertz Historical Preservation Committee. Before I start, I just want to say it's my first time here in the chambers, and my condolences to all of you for your loss and for your heavy hearts right now. Representing this presentation from the Historical Preservation Committee, I can
Andrew.
that the people that we've lost,
I'm sorry?
they are part of this contribution as well with all of
Hello?
our efforts. I want to just acknowledge the chairman of our committee, Daniel Bourgeois, who's here, and our vice chair, Dean Wirtz, and a couple other members that are behind me that are wearing the green shirts for our preservation committee. And part of what we do with that preservation committee is nominate and make presentations on landmarks, and that's why I'm here in front of you today to make a presentation for our 25th landmark. Before I make that presentation, I just wanted to share with any members, council members, or people in the pews behind, the Schertz story of our great ancestry of Schertz can be purchased at 3 different locations: the Visitor Center, the Water Department, and at the library, and gives you a very detailed review of the history of our area. Dean contributed heavily to this book, and we're going to invite Dean up here in a few moments. Good evening. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, on behalf of the Historical Preservation Committee, I would like to present to you a nomination proposal for a City of Schertz landmark property designation. Just as a reminder, I would like to cite Article 14 of the committee's bylaws as to the definition of a Schertz landmark property. A landmark property is defined as any property that presents itself as a unique feature of the City of Schertz landscape community due to its nostalgic, aesthetic, architectural, or symbolic attributes, and which could or will have an enduring impact on the community's cultural identity. There are no legal restrictions placed on any landmark designated properties. All such properties must be positively approved by the Preservation Committee before being brought before the council. The council is the final authority for the designation of these properties as landmarks. You see a bunch of the landmarks around town. Of course, our city's kind of split up, but some of us may not get to different parts of the cities, but those are some of the landmarks. And today's landmark, so to date, the council's designated the 24, like I mentioned. These properties have included churches, business structures, homesteads, and residences. The images you see on the screen just a moment ago were a few of those landmark plaques on display at selected landmark property sites throughout the community. Now you are seeing that the property we're looking at tonight is up for, this is the 7205 FM 482, otherwise known as the Hansman Farm. The property owner is aware of this landmark property designation nomination and agrees to its submission. Here, you see Jerome and Dolores Hansman stand beside their vintage single-story farmhouse, which dates to the early 1900s. Noted beside the couple is restored portion siding and windows of the house, as well as replaced front porch support columns. The house was first purchased by the parents of Jerome Hansman in 1941. Comal County Appraisal Office records list the home to have been built in 1900. Okay, this structure on the left there is diagonal from the farmhouse. That's a stone masonry foundation, and there you have the barn structure, And these are two structures of significant historic importance to this nomination application. The architectural remains of the family farming residence from really the mid-19th century settlers, and the barn structure that was critical to the farming operations of the settler family. I just want to make a couple comments. It may be hard to tell, but that structure, the one with the stone masonry, is it was two-story structure. So they were sleeping they were sleeping upstairs, sort of that Little House on the Prairie where they sleep upstairs style, and they were cooking down below. What else can I tell you? They believe the barn is from approximately 1892, and I know that they told us that it was made from pine wood from Bastrop, longleaf pine woods from Bastrop. That's other views of the structure. There was six or seven of us from the committee that were there to witness and walk the grounds. And so you're seeing the unique historical features of the settler residence and barn that make them both irreplaceable monuments as to life in a much earlier era throughout Comal and Guadalupe counties. You can see the design, material, construction methods of the early settlers without the modern conveniences of refrigeration, forced heat, cooling features, power tools, earth-moving equipment, etc. Those are square nails. You may not be able to tell those are square nails, so that's how they had them back in those days. And that is, I believe, what was that JS for? I forget. Yeah, so that was their way of putting up that it was theirs. Okay, so the Historic Preservation Committee nominated unanimously to make this a landmark property. We're asking that you concur with that, and we can ask that Mr. Dale come down now and stand with Dean Wirtz for the proclamation of this landmark, the Hansman Farm at 7205 FM 482 in Schertz, Texas, as an official, the 25th landmark of Schertz.
Ladies and gentlemen in the audience and for the council, I would introduce the Hansmans, Larry, his wife Lori.
Mr. Wirtz, can you get to the, can you use the...
I would introduce the Hansman family here, Lori and his husband Larry, who own that farm that we're presenting this proclamation to. I'll read the proclamation. Whereas the Hansman family, parents and siblings, have owned and cared for the homestead and its secondary structures situated at 7205 Farm Road 482, Schertz, Texas, since purchasing the property in 1941. And whereas the Comal County appraisal documents place construction of the main building as 1900, whereby making it eligible for historic property designation due to the 50-year age of the property. Whereas the property is deserving of such a designation due to its being the setting for placement of one of the community's earliest 19th century farm settlement homes and stands as a reminder of life's experience throughout the early settlement years. And whereas there are secondary structures on the property in the form of a 2-story limestone constructed residential building and a farm storage barn building, both of which are representative of life and architecture design prevalent in the years of our first area settlements. Now, therefore, I, Ralph Gutierrez, Mayor of the City of Schertz, in concert with the wishes of the City of Schertz Council as expressed by vote, do hereby proclaim the property at 7205 Farm Road 482, Schertz, Texas, as a Schertz landmark property, and ask all citizens to acknowledge the appropriate recognition thereof. In witness hereof, I hereby unto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Schertz to be affixed to this on the 10th day of August, 2021. Signed, Ralph Gutierrez. Congratulations to the Hansmans. Thank you. Council.
All right, next item on the agenda will be announcements by staff.
Thank you. Just a reminder for folks, Thursday, August 12th is the Northeast Partnership Meeting. That's at 11:30 at Olympia Hills Golf and Conference Center for Council. Also Thursday, the 12th at 6:30 in the Civic Center Grand Ballroom is the Community Budget Meeting. Saturday, August 14th, Parks is doing music and movies in the park. That's Pickerel Park under the trees. And Mile 262 will provide the music, and the film will be The School of Rock. Thursday, August 24th is the next regular scheduled council meeting. There's a save the date for council for Friday, August 27th. That's the TML Region 7 meeting. That's at the Hilton Garden Inn in Live Oak, 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. And then again, a reminder with the election on November 2nd, filing for the city council places continues through August 16th. Has to be in by 5 p.m. for any qualified candidate desiring to place his or her name on the November 2nd, 2021 City of Schertz ballot for the purpose of electing council members in places 6 and 7 for a 3-year term, November 2021 to 2024. Candidate packets are available online, as well as the city secretary's office, and qualifications for candidacy are online as well.
All right, next up is announcements of recognition by the city manager. Dr. Brown?
I have none tonight.
All right, and then announcements, recognitions by the mayor. I have nothing. Next item on the agenda then will be hearing of residents, and I have one person signed up, and it's Michelle Tereletsky.
Michelle Terlesky, 705 Maryland Drive. Schertz, Brenda. Not Brenda Schertz, but Schertz, comma, Brenda. I just have a quick comment. At the Friday budget meeting, there was a briefing and a discussion about hiring people and personnel for the vacancies in Schertz. And after I left, it occurred to me that y'all do a good job about recognizing new employees. Welcome them, you recognize them, bring them up, let them talk. But I don't ever hear anything about within-house promotions. So I kind of would like to see you know, if somebody gets promoted within the city, just to say, hey, you know, Dave Scagliola was promoted in the city. They don't have to necessarily be here. Just to get an idea of what we're doing and creating ladders for other positions, because once you promote somebody, that opens other positions down the line. So if we could think about doing that from time to time, I think that would be a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda be consent agenda. Consent agenda is considered self-explanatory and will be enacted by the council with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless they are removed from the consent agenda upon the request of the mayor or council member. Items on the consent agenda this evening is number 1, the minutes, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of August 3rd, 2021. Item number 2, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing a contract with M&C Fonseca Construction Incorporated related to the Aviation Heights Waterline Improvements, Phases 5, 6, and 7 project, and authorizing the budget expenditures for the project. Item number 3, an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz amending Chapter 90 of the Code of Ordinances, Article 5, Water and Wastewater Capital Recovery Fees, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance and providing an effective date, and this is the final reading. Council, do we need to pull any items for individual consideration? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion made by Councilwoman Hayward and seconded by Councilman Brown. Any other comments or questions? Call for a vote.
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries. 7 in favor, no opposed. Item number 4, discussion and action items. Ordinance number 21E29, consideration or action approving an ordinance calling a bond election to be held by the City of Schertz, Texas on November 2nd, 2021, first and final. Mr. Walters.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is James Walters. I'm the Finance Director for the City of Schertz. Tonight before you, we have a bond election item. Vote from council tonight. We'll put this on the November 2nd election. This does not obligate or guarantee that this item will pass and come to fruition. Again, it's just to vote to put it on the ballot for the citizens to vote on. This is for fire station number 4 up in the industrial section. Back in 2017, the City of Schertz did a fire station placement study, figuring out where in the city we could place a fire station for the best response times and best coverage. One of the locations it identified was the industrial park. It actually placed that higher in importance than station number 3, but due to the life safety and delay and all the development going on in the southern area of Schertz, we actually moved that up in the rank instead of doing the industrial park. We are currently at ISO rating number 2. It's an insurance safety rating. Basically, it governs the fire insurance in the City of Schertz. This extra station has been identified as getting us to an ISO 1, what San Antonio and New Braunfels are, and lowering insurance rates for residents and businesses, and making it more attractive for businesses to come to the City of Schertz for the insurance savings. The fire station will also help protect some large tax base for the City of Schertz, a lot of inventory, a lot of high dollar buildings up in that area that we need to react to quickly and put the fires out. If you have any questions, free to answer them for you. We had planned this out while on the ballot. We'll see how much of tax rate this could be. Staff has estimated that issuing these bonds, we could do that at the existing tax rate as other taxes or other debt falls off at that time. So if there's any questions.
All right, council, any comments or questions? Councilman Scagliola.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the cost on Fire Station 3 was.
The final cost, we issued $8 million, I believe.
So why, pardon me for asking, but why is this double?
The construction costs have doubled, the land cost as well. That's the current estimate we have for it.
Oh, Chief, I didn't want to have to get you mobile.
He was already coming, so.
To mention too that Fire Station 3 did not include the equipment, and so Fire Station 4, the apparatus is included in that bond number, which is, between $1 million and $1.3 million.
Yeah, it's good information. I think when it's brought before the voters, that we clearly, or you clearly identify why the costs have risen so much and what the benefits of this new fire station would be. I hope we're not getting a gold-plated fire station in an industrial park. Does it really need to be aesthetically beautiful?
Do the standards set by the city of Schertz and the buildings and safety standards?
Okay, then it's going to be aesthetically beautiful. Okay, thank you. That's all I have, sir.
Anybody else? No?
I move that the city of Schertz, Texas adopts an ordinance calling a bond election in the amount of $15,000. $15 million, I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses. Sorry, let me put my glasses on.
There's
$15,450.
All right.
Second.
Have a
Dollars.
have a motion by Councilwoman Hayward
Second.
and a second by Councilwoman Whitaker. Any other comments or questions? All right, we call for a vote.
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries, 7 in favor, no opposed. Next item on the agenda, number 5, resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz authorizing a preliminary maximum tax rate for fiscal year 21-22 and other matters in connection therewith. Mr. Walters.
All right, the next item we have is setting a preliminary maximum tax rate. To give you a brief summary, for those watching at home or in the audience that weren't here on Friday, this is sort of the breakdown of the total tax rate you could have in the city of Schertz, depending on what county you live in. The city of Schertz, what we're actually discussing here tonight, is on the blue-green at the bottom. The majority of the taxes is the school district, and then you have the county and county roads, and then if you're in Bexar County, you're also very lucky and you get University Health System and the River Authority, as well as the college on top. So the 2020 taxable value was $3.9 billion. The value in 2021 is just over $4 billion. The state has us calculate a couple of tax rates, the no new revenue tax rate, the voter approval tax rate. The no new revenue would raise the same amount of revenue for the city of Schertz for operations on properties that existed in both years, and then the city would gain additional funds if we had new construction. The voter approval rate, council can approve a rate above this rate, but it will automatically trigger an election in November. So the no new revenue rate was 5.146. The voter approval rate was 5.242, and the current rate is 5.121, and the proposed tax rate, the budget that was submitted, it's balanced on, is 5.121. This is lower than the no new revenue rate. So the motion on the final adoption will be effectively decreasing the tax rate by 0.5%. 1 penny on this rate is about $406,000 in revenue, or $26.25 annually on the average home. So what we had proposed to do was actually take about 0.5 penny and from the INS and move it to the M&O, part of the tax rate swap program that we had discussed earlier in the year. Overall, the rate changes, but you'll notice a little bit more on the M&O rate than previously. That goes to fund the general operations of the city and the general fund. So the new average home value in the city of Schertz is $262,000. At the current rate, that tax bill is $1,344, just the city's portion. The no new revenue rate is $1,351. $6 higher than that, and the voter approval rate is $1,376. Historically, these are the M&O rates. Proposal is to be 0.3517, just slightly over the 35-cent mark. Under the INS, that rate, you see that drops from 1651 to 1604. We have a, part of the discussion I had earlier on the bond is we plan to issue that without raising the tax rate. We can plan our issuances and timing and dollar amounts so that we don't cause a fluctuation in the M&O or the INS tax rate, unless there's a tax rate swap option like this and lowering the rate. Again, overall, proposing no change in the overall rate, just a little change between the INS and M&O. All right. So at the INS 1604, we get the 1518 contribution. We get the fire station number 4 if voted on as aye by the citizens, and the FM 3009 extension. Also, the plan includes more infrastructure of $8 million in 24-25. The public safety buildings of total $35 million, those 2 years in 25-26 and 26-27, and $15 million in 28-29 for additional infrastructure. The plan includes lowering the tax rate in 2025 and 2029 up to 2 additional cents and transferring that to the general fund, with the goal being, as discussed, to pay cash for infrastructure and repairs and maintenance instead of issuing debt. This is a chart of the debt service that would be issued and the total payments going from $7 million to where we're at now to just over $10 million over a 10-year period. All right, so we have some options for you tonight. This is setting a preliminary tax rate. Council can go up to that or lower that. This is actually very interesting. If we go with the recommended rate, it's below the no new revenue rate, which has different public hearing notices requirements than if we went above like we normally do. Normally in those situations, council can get a lower rate. They cannot increase the rate. So when you're discussing that and making the motions, keep that in mind. If we set it at the current or no new revenue rate, we would not be able to go higher than that without reissuing notices and holding additional public hearings, potentially calling special council meetings to get it adopted in time. That's all I have.
All right, can you go back to the slide with the tax rates?
Yes, sir.
All right, council, any comments, questions? Councilwoman Scott.
I had a question on the page where you had the public buildings in the future. I did not take notes during that slide. I think it was 25 and 26, and then I think it was 10 million and 25 million. Yeah, 20 million and 15 million. With the rise in, first question, are these for new buildings that you're going to build from the ground up?
Yes, these would be brand new buildings to help with the space.
Okay, where are they going to be? Where do you anticipate? They'll be on the current campus or get more land?
Be across the ditch over by the church on Live Oak.
Yeah, we own all that property over there, and so that's the proposed location for the public safety building.
Fantastic, thank you. My question is, given the staggering inflation that we've seen in building materials in the past 12 months, did you factor this in, or is this just based on today's cost and, you know, maybe with a modest increase, or how did you come up with these numbers here?
They were anticipated as an increase, though we used these numbers back at the previous retreat, so they're about 3 to 6 months old now as far as the estimations. There was an increase factored in when we originally did them.
Do you think this is, I know you're not a fortune teller, but do you think this is going to be close to what it is in that time, given on today's market conditions?
As of right now, that is our best estimate.
Okay. And thank you for answering that. I did want to say, and I hope I'm not being preliminary or anything, I'm giving you my opinion. I was very pleased that staff balanced the budget based on the no new tax rate. I hope I'm saying that right. And current tax rate, thank you, Jill. It was, man, what a good job. And if y'all have ever looked at everything that goes into a budget, it's staggering. There's just so many moving parts, but I'm fiscally conservative, so I don't say that lightly, but I do think credit where credit's due. So, thank you.
All right. Mr. Davis?
Can you go back to the slide with the assessed values on it? And then go forward one more just for a second. No, the other way. Back. So thankfully, we have the state of Texas gives us these wonderful tax rates. No new revenue, voter approval rate, current and proposed max. Whereas the voter approval rate makes perfect sense to a lot of people. We go beyond that, that automatically triggers an election by the residents to approve that. The confusing one is the no new revenue one versus the current one. Now, if you go back to the assessed value, 2020, City of Schertz had a taxable value of 3.9 mil. We've added new development, 148 million. We're now up to just over $4 billion in assessed value. Can you explain how, for the folks listening in or watching in on the video, how we get, going to the other slide again, how we get a no new revenue rate that is higher than our proposed, or I mean our current one?
That involves overall decrease in taxable value between the 2 years. Probably the leading factor in that is the prevalence of the disabled veteran homestead exemption here in the city of Schertz. It's a wonderful program. It offers a great benefit to those that come out of the military with a disability. And it really goes a long way to help those folks, I believe. What it does do for city governments, especially when there's a high concentration of that exemption, is it takes away a lot of taxable value, which when you lose taxable value, like when new exemption comes on, in order for the city to raise the same amount of revenue, it would have to raise the tax rate, which is what this is here, showing we'd have to raise the tax rate to bring in the same amount of revenue. And primary cause is the disabled veteran homestead exemption. This year, from the calculation rates, we added $120 million of additional properties that are now fully exempt from taxes. It was the largest so far, and we're up to $550 million overall exempted, which is about 12% of our tax base. The state does have an aid program, which we hope they fund even higher going forward. Right now, communities that have a high concentration of veterans are only getting about half of what they request from the government in aid because of the funding limitations at the state side.
So that, I mean, basically that comes down to a difference between what the property is assessed at and what it's taxable at.
Yes, sir. Yeah. It looks only at the taxable values. It doesn't look at the, while the assessed will affect the taxable value, got the assessed, take off the exemptions, and that's what
we can tax on.
That's what we actually
tax. That's what the revenues for the city are based on.
Yes, and that's how we calculate our tax rate, is with the taxable.
And that's why we have the discrepancy between the 5146 and the 5121.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I just want that folks out there looking at this and the previous slide saying, wait a minute, the amount of value of the city has gone up. Why do we not get no new revenue from all that extra value? It's the mathematical calculation by that, what we can actually generate revenue from out of that value.
Yeah.
Thank
All right, anybody else? So I'll just reiterate, we have $550 million worth of taxable property that we do not collect taxes on in this city. 12% of our total tax base is exempt from taxes. That's a tremendous impact. All right, well, if no other comments or questions.
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
Which one is it? Resolution, it was 21R82, to pass the current tax rate at 0.5121 for the upcoming 2021-2022 fiscal year.
All right.
I'd love to second that.
Have a motion by Councilwoman Whitaker, a second by Councilwoman Scott. Any other comments or questions? All right, call for a vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Walters. Next item on the agenda is public hearing an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, to approve a specific use permit to allow for the operation of a convenience store with gas pumps on approximately 8.35 acres of land, more specifically described as the northwest corner of the intersection between Interstate 35 and Schwab Road, City of Schertz, Comal County, Texas. First reading.
Good evening, Council. Mayor Pro Tem Dalla. My name is Megan Harrison. This is for Ordinance 21S31. So just to provide reference, the property right here is the approximately 8.5 acres that has previously the SUP was approved back on September 11, 2019 by the Planning and Zoning Commission. It was approved then by City Council on October 22nd, 2019. However, in that time frame, when we have the year to obtain the building permit, it was not done so the SUP expired. Therefore, the reason for them coming back to P&Z and City Council in order to obtain that SUP to do the convenience store with gas pumps. So just some other information, the public hearing notice, we mailed out 5 notices to the surrounding properties on July 2nd, and a newspaper was published on July 21st. The current zoning map has the designation of general business, and again, this is Schwab Road and IH-35. Again, just showing the surrounding properties through the aerial, with the Cisco being behind it, and then the newly Amazon. So just wanted to also point out that with this intersection, it is designated under the current comp plan as highway commercial. So intending for that use to utilize the hard corners of the highway and Schwab Road to allow retail commercial uses such as a convenience store with gas pumps to utilize that area. So this is the SUP exhibit illustrating that 8.5 acres. And the next slides will illustrate the site plan. So as it stands, nothing was changed from the site plan that was previously done in 2019. And so what they're doing now is just coming back in order to renew, essentially, their SUP since it did expire. This is the landscaping plan. So they are going to do quite a bit of landscaping. So I think they will be adding 89 trees to the site. So there'll be several trees on site. Here's the building articulation. So very similar to the one that is on 3009. And then here is the gas canopy. So with that being said, as previously mentioned, it did go to the P&Z and City Council and was approved in 2019. However, with the SUP conditions is that if a building permit is not obtained within 1 year, it does expire. And so with that being that 1 year was October 22nd, 2020, therefore coming back in front of Council and P&Z. P&Z did meet on July 14th with a unanimous decision to approve the SUP. So with that being said, staff is recommending the approval along with P&Z with the condition, though, that a building permit is approved within the 1 year and the use begins operations within 2 years of any issuance of necessary building permits. And the applicant is here in case there are any questions.
All right, Council, any comments or questions?
Yeah, Megan, just for clarification, could you go over why exactly, if the SUP doesn't expire until October, that we're here in August reviewing this?
Or last year.
October 22nd, 2020.
See, I need my bifocals fixed also. Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, so there's reason to believe that we never. This is up for a public hearing. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Never mind.
All right, yes, this is a public hearing, so we need to open the hearing at 6:44. Anyone wishing to make any comments, please make your way to the podium. Going once, twice. All right, close the public hearing, 6:45. All right, Councilwoman Scott.
My only question was this the piece of land that had the storage units on it, and then we redid that? Or
No.
has this been barren the whole, or,
No, ma'am, it's been vacant.
okay, I see.
Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty, that was my only one, that's why I was kind of, I didn't even know if I should ask that. Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. Mr.
Mayor,
Davis?
make a motion to approve ordinance 21S31.
All right, have a motion to approve by Councilmember Davis,
Second?
second by Mr. Brown. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, call for a vote.
Aye.
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 This motion carries 7-0. All right, next item on the agenda will be roll call confirmation.
Consent agenda items 1 through 3. A motion was made by Councilmember Hayward, seconded by Councilmember Brown. Mayor Pro Tem Dalla, Councilmembers Davis, Scott, Whitaker, Scagliola, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed 7-0. Item number 4, ordinance number 21E29, first and final. Motion was made by Councilmember Hayward, seconded by Councilmember Whitaker. Mayor Pro Tem Dalla, Councilmembers Davis, Scott, Whitaker, Scagliola, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed 7-0. Item number 5, resolution number 21R82, setting the preliminary maximum tax rate at .5121. Motion was made by Councilmember Whitaker, seconded by Councilmember Scott. Mayor Pro Tem Dalla, Councilmembers Davis, Scott, Whitaker, Scagliola, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed 7-0. Item number 6, ordinance number 21S31 on first reading. Motion was made by Councilmember Davis, seconded by Councilmember Brown. Mayor Pro Tem Dalla, Councilmembers Davis, Scott, Whitaker, Scagliola, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed 7-0.
All right, next item on the agenda will be a workshop. Item number 7, a bond refinancing opportunity, workshop on possible bond refinancing opportunity. Mr. Walters.
All right. And we also have Andrew Friedman from Samco Capital, who will be handling the actual sale of the bond refinancing, if council kind of gives the nod to go ahead. So Andrew, can you hear us?
I can hear you, James. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. This is Andrew Friedman with Samco Capital Markets, the financial advisor to the city of Schertz.
Right.
Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you fine.
Very good. The presentation for you and decision for you this evening is a bond refunding for debt service savings, something that the city has taken advantage of many, many times over the last decade plus. And so we've got a refunding opportunity that is coming available that we can act on this fall. And the informal action item for you all really to be handled in this workshop is to get to brief you all on the refunding opportunity and to receive an informal green light that you all would wish to proceed with this refunding to be brought back at a future city council meeting with final interest rates in hand for you to then formally take action on. So the lack of action tonight, this is really informational for you all and to get an informal decision. If you have the refunding presentation that we prepared for this meeting in front of you, the page behind the cover page details, starting from the box at the top, we have 2 series of our outstanding bonds that become callable February 1st, 2022. They are the general obligation bonds 2012. There are $4,345,000 of bonds outstanding that can be taken from their investor. They carry an interest rate from 2.25% to 3.1%, with a final maturity in 2032. The other series is certificates of obligation series 2013. There are $2,120,000 in bonds outstanding there, with interest rates ranging from 3 with a final maturity in 2033. So based on lower interest rates that are prevailing today in the market, we believe that we can go out and refinance these bonds at fixed interest rates without maturity. So based on shows the prior debt service for each of the years pertaining to the 2012 and 2013 bonds, which is what the city is scheduled to pay from now until 2033, just for those bonds. The column to the right of that are the refunding debt service. This is what we believe, based on lower interest rates available in the market, we could refund those payments and lower them to be. The column to the right of that savings is simply the prior debt service less that, what we believe the refunding debt service to be, roughly $48,000 a year for an aggregate savings of $519,853, and that's net of the cost of issuance and underwriter's discount, that it would be the cost of going through this transaction. And so the summary table to the bottom right shows the refunding, some of the key details. Average coupon of the refunded bonds is 3.31%. The true interest cost, which is roughly the average interest rate of the refunding bonds, and you'll have to excuse me, that's a typo. It's 1.65%, not 3.65%. So based on being able to lock in generally almost 2% lower in interest rate based on today's market, we believe the city is going to be able to save in excess of $500,000. So I'm happy to answer any and all questions that you all may have, Mr. Walters or Dr. Brown, anything that I may have left off, I'm certainly happy to cover. The third page there is a timetable. Again, the first item, seeking your informal approval this evening for the city staff and your various consultants and bond attorney to proceed with the issuance of these bonds. We would be back at your October 12th city council meeting with final interest rates in hand. We would know the exact savings at that time, and that would be your opportunity to vote in favor of selling these bonds at that time. We would then close in November, and we'd be able to take the old bonds away from the investor February 1st of 2022 without any penalty to the city. So with that, I turn it over to you all for questions, and appreciate your time this evening.
All right, just to reiterate what we were talking about, we have two bond series, 2012 and 2013, that we would refinance. Here is the current debt service that we are paying. Here is the estimated debt service that we would be paying after the refinancing, and here is our annual savings. So it's currently estimated we'd save about $520,000 by going through with the refinancing.
All right, council, any questions, comments?
James, what account does the savings go into?
This would lower our obligations, and I believe, I know this one is the general fund. I believe the 2013 is the water and sewer.
That is correct. The general fund, we like for the refunding bonds to be split the same way as the bonds we're refunding. So of the savings that we're looking at, roughly 2/3 will go to the benefit of the general fund and 1/3 to the benefit of the utility fund, the 2013 COs having been issued for utility improvements.
So more specifically, $30,000, our annual debt payments from the INS tax rate would be $30,000 less annually, and that would come off of the next year's debt rate calculation. So we wouldn't calculate as high of a debt rate the following year. Another $15,000 would lower the annual payments in the water and sewer fund, which comes from our water and sewer revenue.
All right, well,
Go for it.
Don't see any objections to it. I think anytime we can save the taxpayers $500,000 plus, I think it's a good thing. I think you pretty much have the concurrence to proceed.
And if the savings aren't there, of course, council does not have to accept any bids, and we can stay with the current if something crazy happens in the market.
Thank you, Andrew, for the briefing.
Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Andrew.
thank you.
Thank you all very much for your evening.
All right, and next item on the agenda, item number 8, proposed fiscal year 21-22 budget. Workshop and discussion on the proposed fiscal year 21-22 budget. Mr. Walters, you're popular tonight.
Yes, sir. We're going to reiterate some of the high points we went over on Friday, so we have it on the record, as well as so people can look at it from home and anyone in the audience. Council, with this item, the proposed budget document was also submitted and will be made available on the website for anyone to download and look at. The budget that was proposed to council included these expanded programs: replacing our financial software Encode, increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We do have an outstanding request from council to go back and recalculate some additional costs, so if you wanted to change the original proposal, we'll bring that back in 2 weeks to see which way council wants to go and how we want to include it in the budget if we decide to go forward. We have some new personnel. We have contracted building and facility cleaning, some new fleet programs, the animal care HVAC system repair and replacement, as well as some additional spam funding proposed. So the Encode replacement's about $500,000 is our current estimate. Our current software, the initial platform is from 2000, so it's over 20 years old. Still operating the same platform. It's not as robust. We have a lot more demands now as a city that's our size on this software than we did 20 years ago. So we are a limited amount of data we can pull out of it, as well as integrating other systems into it. We talked about increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour. That would be a cost of $118,000. That part was included in the budget. We'll come back with some other proposals after a discussion we had on Friday. And includes all employees, full and part-time. The new personnel we're proposing includes 3 new positions in the general fund. Not the volunteer coordinator, we changed that out with the plumber, I apologize. Patrol officer and the evidence technician, and the plumber was included in the document that was submitted to council. That's already in there. That was in the website as well. The enterprise funds adds 2 paramedics, plus council will bring an item for you by the end of September to add the 6 needed for the Randolph contract. And the water and sewer has a SCADA technician. The contracted building and facilities cleaning, we're going to add the public safety buildings to our current existing janitorial contract. And we're also going to add the parks restroom to a cleaning contract as well. That'll free up some of our staff to do other annual preventative maintenance to our facilities and our parks, rather than spending some time cleaning when we can get that done at a cheaper cost. The fleet programs, we have a heavy-duty tire machine. Currently, when we have to change tires on some of our big equipment, like our fire trucks, we have to send that out and pay someone to do that for us. With this machine, we can do it in-house, and we think we'll be able to repay ourselves with efficiency savings within a year or 2 on this machine. We also have a GPS tagging for vehicles. Cost us $10,000. We tested 4 of these GPS tagging devices on our EMS vehicles, and we realized significant fuel savings. So we're going to expand this to our light duty fleet and see if we can recognize some other efficiencies and savings using this program as well. We have animal care HVAC system replacement. The estimated construction to repair and replace the HVAC system in the animal adoption facility is about $700,000. Our road program, our streets, we currently have $200,000, a line item to maintenance of our city streets in the annual budget. We're proposing an extra $400,000 to that fund starting in not this coming year, but the year after. So after that, we'll have $600,000 for the road program. And the main reason we're not doing that this year is we plan on having some expenses related to the animal adoption HVAC replacement. So that's kind of eating that one up this year. Depending on how that comes out, we may be able to put some of that towards streets this year instead. The general fund portion of the proposed budget was $39.3 million. It's an increase of just over $1 million from the current year budget, not including the infrastructure funding, the extra $581,000 that we put towards streets, parks, and sidewalks and drainage projects last year. Does not include the Encode replacement or the animal services either, just pure operations. The non-personnel budgets decreased 2.3% due to fall off of business incentive payments, completion of the public safety restroom model, and the funding of the comprehensive land use plan update that was in the current FY. Personnel budgets increased 5.4% to act on the class and comp study, the minimum wage update, continuing the merit program, estimated insurance increases, 0.25% ECI, and adding those 3 positions we had discussed on the previous page. So visually, this is a historic trend of our general fund budgets. Continuing fairly steady trend up. The personnel side has followed that trend pretty much, budget to actual. Here's our operating, our non-personnel, non-capital You do see the fall off. We had those large programs that kind of fell off from the 2021 to 22. Our capital outlay is increased a little bit with just additional replacements on vehicles and some other large equipment. Now, this is hard to get exactly even year after year, but it should fall in between that 1.2 to 1.4 million most years. On the sales tax, historically, our sales tax has been positive. We've only seen a couple of years of actually decreased at all. Usually we see years of high growth followed by slowing down. We may be at another little peak, coming back down off of all the COVID ramp up. We'll see how that shakes out going forward. Currently, we're estimated to be 10% up, which is down from the 13% year prior. So we're currently estimating a 3.3% next year. Franchise is another revenue the city has. This is to utilities using the city's right-of-way. It's gone up, but it's relatively flattened out over the previous years, and we've kind of kept that trend. Permits, we were a little bit low. We had 2 fantastic years. We had a lot of businesses, a lot of school district being built here in the city of Schertz. They kind of lowered after that, and it's been relatively flat since then. We're continuing that trend as well. Fees were at a high back in about 2012. We've seen some decline. COVID hit our fees more than any other revenue source, and we've seen that kind of flatten out. We're hoping that comes back this year and next year. So the general fund, the proposed budget assumes we need to get to a 26% fund balance requirement, and our choices made will reduce the fund balance to that over the next 5 years. So this is our 5-year forecast. We have the $850,000 capital projects, Encode and the, animal services. Overall, the budget proposed has $600,000 coming out of our reserves. Then we kind of ride out the expense growth the next couple of years, and we'll hit that 26% by 2026. On the water and sewer fund, upcoming projects include the Ware Seguin Loop Line, Great FL Road, the corporate groundwater storage tank design, 1518 utility relocations, Aviation Heights water line, the North Kid Country Club, and the mainline water camera leak detection. And I think this one, apologize. We had a couple frozen that did not get updated here. This is a 2 12-hour full-time paramedics, as well as replacing the Marion Station, which is a portable building, basically. It's quite old, about $50,000 to replace that one. Key dates, we have the August 12th. This Thursday, we have a community budget presentation planned. August 24th, we'll hold the public hearings. September 7th, we'll hold the public hearings and first vote. And September 14th, we'll hold final vote and adoption of the tax rate and budget. That's how it's currently laid out and planned. All right, was there any questions or comments over the proposed budget as how it's presented, or anything council would like us to look into and propose going forward?
All right, council, comments, questions? Councilwoman Scott?
Yes, comment, I would wish that you would put page numbers on them because it's hard to refer back to ask you a question. So in the future, or maybe you, oh, you do. Okay, well, I didn't see the page for, okay, I need my bifocals. The page for the sales tax, my question was, why did it drop so much in 2015? And I can see why it did last year a bit, although I thought we were riding out the COVID pretty good with Lowe's and HEB and all that. But why on 2015? And what page is that, by the way?
Sorry.
It's okay, my eyes aren't deceiving me. Okay, good, good. So what, I'm just trying to wrap my hand, like if that was on 2009, I can see because that was coming off the recession of 2007 and 8. But why did it drop so drastically in 2015? And I'm just wondering because I'm intellectually curious and we need to know.
In There's a couple of things that do happen, and some things that may be not as clear with this current layout. It looks like it dropped a lot. It was only about, it was 2.3% down. So we had all these years of super high growth, and then basically a year where it was flat.
Where it's catching up.
Yeah, basically we had a lot of growth, a lot of development, and then it came back, and there just wasn't as much growth. We had a lot of times when this happens is we'll have a lot of one-time sales tax from construction projects mostly before it, those fall off, and so we have a spike, and then it comes back down a little bit.
Well, that's fine. That helps me understand it because I'm not a comptroller, but I understand research and statistics fairly well, but that's why I wanted to see the reason. Thank you. I know Scagliola was over there saying it under his breath. He already knew the answer. I do want to point out that I don't know what page number it was, but there's many pages. Some of these are presented as expenses. In fact, I think all of them are. However, I want to point out that many of these will result in being investments for the community, such as the plumber, the heavy-duty tire machine, the police, I don't know what it was called, the document personnel. Thank you, Councilwoman Hayward, for letting me know they have to drive to Austin to take the evidence, and this will certainly save in the gas and et cetera. And so some of these are excellent investments, not just in quality of life, but in tangible cost savings. And if it wasn't onerous or cumbersome for staff, I mean, that would be fantastic to show at some point how much it really, you know, saved us in the long run. But I don't expect y'all to do that. So, but overall, thank you. Good job.
All right, anybody else? All right, well, just a brief thank you to staff. Y'all do a lot of work on this, and definitely it's not unrecognized, and we definitely appreciate your efforts to bring in a budget like this. So thank you, guys. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, number 9, Police Department Training Program. Workshop discussion regarding the Police Department Training Program. Chief.
Good evening. Okay, one of our goals with the police department is to be recognized by the Texas Police Chiefs Association in their best practices recognition program. So what is it? It's similar to an accreditation program for our policies. And it has 166 Texas-based law enforcement best practices. And these were developed by Texas law enforcement professionals, chiefs, assistant chiefs, command staff members over the years. And one thing with this program is you just don't start it, you have to apply for it. And so that is our goal. We're currently in the process of getting to the point where we can apply. So with recognition, we have to implement, adhere to our policies, our procedures, training and documentation that all meets those best practices standards. There will be a committee of 9 Texas chiefs that will come and actually do on-site visits. They'll visit with staff, they'll inspect the building, they'll look at our policies and make sure we're following up those policies and training. And once all best practices are met, then you can obtain that recognized status. But it's a long road and it's very involved. Currently, we have 126 policies within the department. And every single policy is under review. We're literally touching every single policy that we have, and there are some new policies coming online that meet the best practices standards. And depending on those policies, we work with various different departments within the city, anything from our city attorney, human resources, risk management, and even our fleet department. And right now, we're approximately 50% through that policy review. Estimate, hopefully December 2021, to be through with our first initial policy review. Now, with these policies also comes training and staff development. Each policy, as it goes out, will, from day forward, has a test attached to it. So we put the policy out, they have to read it, and then they have to show they understand it. And some examples of those are use of force, de-escalation, pursuits, crime victim services, grievance procedures, harassment, and that's just a small sample of everything that the officers will have to go through. And in this process, we've worked with our city attorney's office on a crucial policing issues and choices class. It was led by Mr. Denton. And what that did is provided our staff with some insight on current legal issues and case law. You know, why are policies written the manner in which they are? You know, how are these case laws coming out? How do they affect the staff and how we operate? Also provided a review of outside agencies' failures and also successes. You know, we learn from our failures. Overview of litigation from when staff is actually faced with a lawsuit. I mean, this was a very important piece of that training, because any time that any officer is faced with a lawsuit, it's a scary thing for them. And so this also provided them an opportunity to kind of see it from both sides and what our city attorneys look for. So far, we've had 2 sessions with 65 department members attending those sessions. Technology, this is a very important piece of our policy program. We have a program called Power DMS, and it is a policy and training software that we use. The officers can access it on their desktops, they can get it in their cars, or on their phones. And so when we push a policy out to them, it notifies them that you've got a policy you need to read. And once they acknowledge it, we see that, and we can track everybody who's read that policy and those who haven't, and follow up with those conversations and make sure they do read it. It also has a training module, which is a really great tool for us, because now we can do our own online training. We have ACOG-approved classes that we will put into this program, and it will be pushed out to all of our staff. And again, we can see who's taken it, who hasn't taken it, and how they scored on the test at the end. And also, as we create these training modules, we can also attach it to the policy to whatever it pertains to. Each policy, as we put it into Power DMS, is set up on a 2-year review. So it tells our command staff every 2 years, it's time to look at this policy, update it, review it. If we need to make changes, we'll make changes. If we need to change a test, if there's any case law that's come out that affects it, that's the opportunity, and it reminds us and doesn't let us forget. So regarding the best practices and policies, are there any questions on that? Okay.
Hey, how many hours are mandated towards staff development for your average police officer per year?
It's 40 hours minimum for every cycle through TCOL.
Okay.
But internally, we're also working on in-service training, which will be an additional 40 hours, which goes over use of force, firearms training, pursuit driving. And we're going to hold that twice a year and split that up into 2 or 3-day sessions. In addition to that is all the online training. We'll have roll call training at least 2 times a month, and every policy that comes out will also have training.
Is this on city time or personal time?
City time.
How do you manage to get any work done out on the streets? My goodness.
Fortunately, with the online training, it provides the officers, they can come into the office, and before they hit the road, they can hit the online training.
Okay.
We can do it during roll call, or they can do it if they get a lunch break, and so we can cycle our staff through the training.
So your training officers, they got quite a workload also, trying to keep track of how many officers are there now? Is it 30? About 60-ish?
In the 60s on sworn staff right now, and we've got a team of officers dedicated to training. We have our range officers for the shooting range. There's a sergeant currently that's pretty much made this a full-time position of creating all the classes and working with me on policy development.
I'm quite impressed. I really am. It's a Herculean challenge out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm done.
All right, thank y'all. Next up is Officer Kraft to talk about our police services survey.
Good evening, everyone. So we have on our website, and I'll show y'all where to go find it in a moment, we have created a police services survey. So what the survey was created for, so I don't have to keep right-clicking.
Can you try to speak in the mic?
Yes.
Pull it down. Thank you.
He's taller, so let me move it down. So what this survey was created for was a better understanding of how we are progressing as a police department. It also identifies any community concerns. So, but who can fill this survey out? Anyone, anybody that has come up to the police department, who has any type of interaction within the police department or even the city. So how to access it, we have it on our website. If you go under Schertz.com, Services, Health and Public Safety, Police, and then Police Survey. We also will have a QR code. These QR codes will be located on our business cards, our case number cards that we will give out to our citizens, paperwork that's shared with our citizens, any flyers we have in our lobby. We're hoping to get some on the back of our patrol cars, in the back glass, and on the front doors of our lobby is where this QR code will be found. Oops. So some of the questions that are on this survey is, what was the nature of the service that a citizen had experienced? Were they just there to file a request or a police report? Were they involved in a motor vehicle accident? Did they get a traffic stop? Did they encounter us while we were on a community event? Or none of the above, and tell us why they had our communications or contact with us. We also asked for a call of service if they were there for a report, and how were they satisfied with any of us, any of our staff, our dispatchers, our records department. We want to know how they felt they were treated. And we also go with asking about methods of receiving communication, crime prevention tips. Do they want it by social media or in a flyer? What's the best way to reach our communication to people? And that's our police services survey. Do y'all have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I want to thank y'all for serving. I know that last year was a really hard year for me personally. I was going through some stuff, and I really appreciate your support and your protection, and I cannot thank you enough. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You have a hard job, and some communities, the police are feeling the hate, and we want y'all to feel the love because man, thank you. You make Schertz a really desirable, a safe place to live. So I wanted that on the record. How long have you been doing the survey?
The survey went live a couple weeks ago. I don't remember the exact date that I got it live on our website.
Good. Great. I think it's an awesome idea. On page 9, who can fill it out? Anybody? My question for you is, do they need to give their contact information?
We have a section in the bottom that they can leave their contact information if they want to be contacted. They don't have to if they don't want to be contacted by us. So it can be anonymous.
It can be?
Yes.
Okay. I find that, I don't know, it's a double-edged blade because sometimes you need to be anonymous, but then and I've had kids because we have to, I'm a teacher and you have to let them know about, you can report bullying online and you don't have to put your information, but then I've had every single time I present that, kids in class say, well, they can just not like me, so they can put it up there, and then you have to be investigated. So there can be abuses of that nature, but on the other hand, I'd rather err on the side of caution and let people do it anonymously, but I would only caution, like some people might have an agenda, and so you kind of have to filter that out. But overall, I think it's a fantastic idea to let the citizens have a voice directly with the police. And I like the way that you had the very specific information. Was it concerning a case or, a ticket or an accident, or just you saw them at the park and they waved at you, whatever the case may be. And finally, I would love to get a copy of the survey.
Yes, ma'am. I can get a copy and email it to you.
Thank you, Jill.
Or?
There we go. Let me get my, please. Please leave this page up, and thank you.
You're very welcome.
All righty, good job. Thank you.
All right, anybody else with comments or questions?
Just one.
Councilwoman Brown?
This is an open-ended survey, right? It's not you don't have a time frame on it, to analyze results or anything. It's an ongoing process.
So the way we get the results of the survey, I have to fill in a request with our IT department, and they will give me the results of, monthly results of the survey, so we get to see people's comments. And
Right.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Scagliola.
Yeah, hey, thanks so much for doing this. I'm an analyst, so I like numbers. Are there questions in there about the customer satisfaction rates?
Yes, sir.
And things like that?
We do have customer satisfaction rates in here.
Outreach programs?
We have our outreach programs. Let's see. Let's not tell everybody
I'll loan you my bifocals. I can't guarantee they
Wait,
work.
yours are not working, though.
We even have a place in here for suggestions on how to improve our social media presence. Anything about our community. Again, this is, if somebody sees us out at a community event and they want us to just say hi, they met us there. The kids wanted to say hi, like at Jubilee. Apparently I had a couple kids from Junior Police Academy hunting me down at the park just to say hi. So this gives the parents a chance to express their feelings on their interactions with us.
That's wonderful. You know, if you had a couple of those printed things for us older people with our flip phones who don't do QR codes, you might get more responses. Because I'd love to thank you for all your efforts.
I'll send all of y'all a printed copy.
Appreciate it.
Emails. So
Yeah, we do have a mail-out version, too. It's not
Yes.
all electronic.
Okay.
The mail-out version will be sending out as well.
yes,
Sounds good.
All right, thank you for what you guys do.
thank you. Any other questions?
Next is Corporal Murphy to talk about our new police app.
Give me a second. I have to set my phone up. Mr. Scagliola, you're going to love this because this is another QR code, sir. But I will help you with this, okay? I promise.
Nice screensaver.
My attempt at humor. Okay. All right, here we go. So the Schertz Police Department would like to introduce our newest form of technology for our community members and the public to download to their iOS or Android smartphones at no cost. Our police department understands the importance of keeping our community members apprised of police response in our city during a critical incident. Our department strives to provide the most accurate information regarding a critical incident to the public as soon as we can do so. Our goal in supplying a smartphone application for our citizens is to increase effective communication and transparency between the police department and our community. Let me get this app up real quick so you guys get to see real time. This is our new platform. Our new smartphone application includes numerous valuable features such as real-time notifications regarding breaking news, traffic issues, road closures, and inclement weather. If you look here right with the notification history, we would have loved to have had this during Snowvid because we get all kinds of weather information. There's check boxes that allow us to control what we're notifying our public on, and we have everything checked right now, so you're gonna get it all, whether it happens here or close. Users will also have access to community services such as the Texas Department of Public Safety Sex Offender Registry search, and that's if you go to the More button, and community services. There's also crime prevention programs, educational opportunities, and current news and events. And the current news and events is on the main screen. You click on that button. We don't have anything just yet because this is just going live, so we will add things as they occur. For those not connected to social media, our department Facebook posts can also be viewed through our application if you click on our social media down at the bottom. The great thing about this is this eliminates the need for a personal account. So any individual that wants to see our Facebook posts and be in the know for information, depending on what we're presenting, you don't have to have a Facebook or be connected to social media. You just need the app on your phone. If you're new to the area or traveling through the city of Schertz, the resource mapping, if you go to the main screen, and go down here to the resource mapping. This resource mapping button can provide helpful location information within the city. I put 25 most utilized locations listed on the map, and this includes places like our hospital, city buildings, schools. I even put the emergency pet hospital and the grocery stores. So if you keep zooming in, you can see that there's different places on here that I've listed. This is Schertz Elementary. I've included information to include the address, the phone number, and for people visiting their website so they don't have to go anywhere else. They can access it straight from our app. By utilizing the report an incident button right here, people will be directed to several options for submissions of information, including narcotics activity, traffic complaints, suspicious situations, and cold case tips. And if you are cruising around the city and you see something that needs to be reported, like a pothole or a street light out, you can easily access the Report a Hazard button from the main screen. And if you click here, you can toggle down to whatever you need to report. If there's something you want to fill in, you can click Other and type away. At the end, you're going to go ahead and submit that, and your concern will be directed to the appropriate contact to be addressed promptly. The Schertz Police Department smartphone application also highlights a link to our department website, recruiting, so we have a join the department and hiring information, a phone directory, which is a contact us, and access to weekly crime statistics and mapping if you go to the More button. And that's right here. So there's our crime mapping. You can download our Schertz Police Department smartphone app today. Mr. Scagliola, I'll help you with that if you'd like, sir. You can scan the QR code with your smartphone. I have the QR code outside for when people were coming in or leaving. They can go ahead and scan that and install it. Or you can go ahead and download the app from the App Store for iOS devices or Google Play for Android. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Do y'all have any questions for me?
What would the name of the app be?
I'm sorry?
What's the name of the app?
You put in Schertz Police Department and it will find it for you. Well, it's no cost, sir, so.
Councilmember Scott has already done it, so you're way behind.
There we go. The notifications, the options for notifications can be turned on and off, so if you don't want an audible sound when we have crazy weather, I've been testing this out since we started it, and I've gotten a lot of notifications, especially with the interesting weather that we've been having. So I know during Snowvid it would have been definitely audible tone all the time, but absolutely a fantastic app and a great resource for our police department. Anyone else?
Quick question on the app, on the hazard reporting. Is that monitored real time?
Are you talking about the potholes and the street lights and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, a pothole doesn't have to be monitored real time.
Right.
But a street light or a traffic accident might need to be.
Right. Well, we're hoping that if it's something that needs to be reported emergently, there is actually a prompt that will come up and say, do you want to actually report this to 911? Is this an emergency? So that prompt will come up for certain activities within the app.
Pile of
right. No, it's
maintenance issues.
It's channeled to an individual that we have different, depending on what you're reporting. So the narcotics information is going to go to the investigations, and our potholes and things like that are going to be distributed to the individuals that would take care of reporting that to Public Works to be taken care of. So it is in real time, but obviously if they report a pothole at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd like to say that we were going to be able to send someone out at 3 o'clock, but I think we'll have to wait till 8 a.m. Correct. Correct. I did incorporate a feature in this app because I know that individuals, want to be able to call 911, and I wanted to have that as an option. So you can call 911 from this app. it can be accessed through one of our contact buttons.
All right, Councilwoman Hayward?
This is probably a silly question, but on your potholes, is it just a pothole? Because I know on the city site, it's a lot of clicks, and then they want measurements, and people are not.
No.
Measurements.
No, ma'am. So say we are going to report a pothole, you can just type your basic information, brief description. Some of these will actually allow you to add a photo if you feel the need to get out of your car. Hopefully it's safe to do so, but it doesn't require any type of measurements, mathematics, or calculations to be able to contact us to report this kind of.
I'm just, because I'm doing the city app.
Absolutely.
Has that on there. It's what size is the pothole? No.
It's a pothole.
It's a pothole.
It's ruining my tire.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, any other comments, questions? All right, again, this looks really cool. I'm looking forward to trying it myself. And just one little comment, when you typed in your PIN, we saw it up here, so you might want to change
Oh,
that.
yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Yeah, right. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, next items on the agenda. Items 10 and 11, these are informational items, can be found in our city council packets as well as available online. Item number 10 is the quarterly financial reports. Number 11 is the monthly update on major projects in progress and capital improvement projects. Next up is requests and announcements. Announcements by the city manager, Dr. Brown.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank our whole team for all the work on the budget. James Walters really did a fantastic job, him and Babat leading the finance team. Also, our city manager's office, Brian James, Charles Kelm, and Sarah Gonzalez were instrumental in leading us through that, and I just want to thank them and appreciate all the hard work they did. As you know, the budget takes many, many hours of preparation, and what you see before you is just the final product. There's a lot of iterations that go into that. Also would like to thank Chief Bain and the police department for all the work that they're doing. Their certification program with the Texas police chiefs really going to be essential for our police department in the future, and I think we're going to reap big benefits from that. Their whole policy review that they're undergoing is pretty critical to their future operations. And of course, you saw the new technology, and I think all of that is, Chief, I was just praising you, and want to thank you for all the work that you've been doing on the certification program and everything else, the policy review. So really do appreciate it, and think it's going to be critical moving forward for us.
All right, next up, request by council for updates or information from staff. Anybody have anything? All right. Request by council members, items or presentations be placed on future agendas. Anybody? No? All right. Announcements by mayor and council members. Councilmember Davis.
Nothing, sir.
Councilwoman Scott.
Budget meeting was it last Friday already? Oh my gosh, yeah, that was pretty good, thank you.
Councilwoman Whitaker.
Just the last half of the budget retreat. Excellent.
All right. Councilmember Scagliola.
Yeah, when I'm left speechless during a budget meeting, you know you got to have your I's dotted, your T's crossed, and your ducks lined up. So exceptional job. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hayward.
Yes, the budget meeting, and that was good. I also attended the Suburban Cities meeting. It was more about Bexar County cities, and since we're part of Bexar County, I attended that meeting. In that meeting, I guess because we are not in the city of Schertz and Converse and surrounding, according to them, we don't have enough people vaccinated, so they're going to start putting in billboards down I-35 in the area to remind people to get their vaccines if you so choose. I attended the Schertz Animal Committee. That's always a good meeting to go to. I did the VFW Post 8315 District 5 meeting, and I presented them with a proclamation of the Purple Heart, and it was Purple Heart Day, so it was nice presentation and kind of had some brought to tears for that. So that was a good event. And then I think pretty much that's all. Oh, the ribbon cutting, I'm sorry. for the Reefs Across America. So if you feel like it, if you don't want to do the reefs, just go on their website and donate money to put reefs on there. And apparently they have had 85% of Fort Sam covered, so we need to get them to the next 15%. That's all.
Oh, Councilman Brown.
Nothing that money can't, fix. Yeah, no, great budget meeting, lots of work went into it, and the staff made it a much smoother process for us this year, so thanks for all of that work.
All right, with nothing further, we call the meeting adjourned, 7:34.